Welcome to the Mindful Practice Podcast, a space for physicians navigating burnout, identity shifts, and career change without pressure or judgment. I'm your host, Dr. Bertina Hooks, a board-certified internal medicine physician, coach, and writer. Here we talk honestly about what it means to build a sustainable career and a life beyond medicine and survival.
Hi, welcome back to the Mindful Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bertina Hooks, physician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of the Pinnacle Business Academy. Over the past several weeks, we've been diving deeply into burnout, emotional exhaustion, career reset, identity struggles, and what it really means to begin reclaiming yourself as a physician and a person. And today's episode is a little different. Today we're doing a Burnout Book Spotlight episode. Because one thing I've learned during my own burnout and career clarity journey is this: healing requires tools. Healing requires support. Healing requires perspective. And sometimes one book, one chapter, one sentence can completely transform the way you see your life. So today, I want to share several books that genuinely helped me rethink stress, productivity, recovery, mindset, habits, and purpose. And hopefully, they'll help you as well. So whether you're currently burned out, quietly overwhelmed, questioning your direction, or simply trying to rebuild yourself after a difficult season, I hope this episode encourages you. So let's talk about the first book I want to talk about or highlight is Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. This book really helped me understand something that physicians experience every single day, but often don't fully process. Stress does not magically disappear simply because the shift ends. The body carries that stress, and many of us move from one responsibility to another without ever fully, truly completing the stress cycle. Medicine trains us to function, but it doesn't necessarily train us how to recover. And I think that realization was incredibly important for me as I went through my own burnout recovery journey. Because burnout recovery is not just mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. And many physicians are operating in chronic survival mode without realizing how deeply exhausted they truly are. One of the most important lessons I took from this book was realizing that wellness is not weakness, rest is not laziness, and recovery is not something you earn only after complete collapse. So this is a great book and I highly recommend it. The next book is Atomic Habits. This book deeply impacted me. This book is written by James Clear. And honestly, this book helped me tremendously during burnout recovery. Because when you're burned out, everything can feel overwhelming. Even simple things can feel hard. And what I loved about this book is that it focuses on small, sustainable changes instead of dramatic overnight transformation. Tiny habits, tiny routines, tiny improvements. And over time, those small actions compound into meaningful change. Consistency is key. Many people say that it takes 30 days or more to establish a healthy habit. So these little small changes, routines, can really help you over time see consistent change and improvement. I think many physicians are conditioned to operate in extremes, all or nothing, perfectionism, overachievement, constant productivity, and burnout recovery often happens slowly. It takes time. It's rebuilding your life one healthy decision at a time, one boundary, one walk, 1 hour of sleep, one healthy meal, one moment of peace. And that mindset shift was incredibly important to me. For me, I think a framework of at least giving yourself 90 days to reset and recover from burnout is essential. And I provide some resources on my website that you can do on demand in my Careers Reset micro webinars. Those pre-recorded webinars are short but effective, and they'll give you tools in order to start your burnout recovery process. The third book is The Myth of Normal. This book I wanted to highlight by Gabor Mate, and it really challenges the idea that our current culture is healthy or sustainable. In medicine, we normalize overwork. We normalize emotional suppression. We normalize exhaustion. But just because something is common doesn't mean that it's healthy. And I think many physicians begin questioning their careers, not because they're weak, but because something inside of them recognizes that the current way of living is no longer sustainable. And that's important to realize. When something is not sustaining you, it's an important signal that you need to change. The next book is The 5 Things Successful People Do Before 8 a.m. by Terry Saville Foy. This book was impactful because it focused on intentionality, mindset, vision, discipline, and personal growth. Because burnout can steal your vision, you become so focused on surviving that you stop dreaming, you stop creating, you stop planning, you stop imagining a future outside of stress and exhaustion. And this book really encouraged me to become intentional again about my habits, my environment, my goals, and my mindset, and the type of life I wanted to create. This book gives an excellent illustration on the tools that you can use in order to create the life that you want. In this book, Terry was unhappy with her current life, so she started incorporating habits that allowed her to transform her life into the one she envisioned. Now she's an author, an inspirational speaker. She was able to gain better control of her health, all by incorporating these habits. And they are applicable to anyone. The next book is The Miracle Morning. This is another book that really helped me during my burnout recovery journey. It's written by Hal Elrod. And what I appreciated about this book was the reminder that mornings matter. How you start your day matters, especially for physicians who are high-achieving professionals who spend so much of their lives reacting to stress, possibilities, emails, schedules, and demands. This book really encouraged me to become intentional again. Intentional with my mindset, my routines, my thoughts, my habits, and my goals. And most importantly, my personal growth. Because burnout can make you feel disconnected from yourself, the things that really matter. You can wake up overwhelmed, already behind, already emotionally exhausted. And one of the things that helped me was learning how to create small moments of peace, reflection, structure, and intentionality before the chaos of the day started. And honestly, that can become transformational. One of the things that I really liked about the book was the morning routine, or an hour of power, where you have 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of reflection, prayer, meditation, and 20 minutes of reading, journaling, exploring. I still use the morning routine every day in my personal life. At 6 a.m., I wake up. I spend 20 minutes doing some exercise, usually about 30 minutes now. And then I also spend about 20 to 30 minutes reading, journaling, learning about something that I'm interested in. And finally, I also have a healthy meal, a breakfast, which is very important to starting your day. And then I spend 20 minutes in meditation, prayer, positive affirmations, whatever is the focus for my day. And I do all of this before I start looking at my schedule or answering my cell phone or sending emails before I start my day. And it really helps to reset my day and to start it off being very productive, intentional, and mindful. The other thing is I also created an evening routine as well, where I spend about an hour before bedtime doing things to relax my mind, to unplug from the day. And those are things like reading or journaling. I don't use any devices, and I put it on do not disturb at a certain point in the day. I also have a healthy dinner with my daughter and reflect about things from the day. I may journal, I may meditate or pray. I also have a sleep routine where I take a shower or a bath. I relax. I may light a candle or do something that I enjoy, and I really avoid screen time during that time. So it's important to realize that people who are successful incorporate these habits. And we as physicians are already successful in our careers and our lives, but there's always room for more improvement and to become more intentional and mindful about what we want to do. Incorporating these habits for me allowed me a space and time to reflect on what I wanted to change in my life, what boundaries I wanted to set in my personal life and my professional life. It also allowed me to gain clarity in order to determine my next step, my career pivot and transition. It was the first building block or step that brought me to where I am today. And now, because I incorporate these habits, I'm less likely to suffer from burnout. I'm more resilient. And if I am succumbing to the natural signals of burnout, I'm more attuned to them, and I know what to do in order to reset when needed. And that becomes transformational, because burnout recovery is not only about rest. Sometimes it's also about rebuilding the systems. One of the misconceptions about burnout is that recovery is just like taking a vacation. But true recovery or restoration often requires mindset shifts, healthier systems, boundaries, emotional healing, identity work, and intentional rebuilding. Honestly, many physicians have never been taught how to do that during our training or during our professional careers. And if you're listening to this episode, realizing that burnout has affected not only your energy, but also your confidence, your clarity, or your sense of direction, I want you to know that you are not alone in this, and you don't have to navigate it alone. That's exactly why I created the intensives through Pinnacle Business Academy. Whether you're trying to recover from burnout, rediscover your purpose, pivot into a new chapter, strategically reposition your career, or create a more aligned professional life, we have resources specifically designed for physicians navigating transition and reinvention, including the Career Reset Intensive, the Career Pivot Intensive, and the Resume and Strategic Positioning Intensive, and finally the Career Pathway Intensive, which allows you to explore individual career pathways such as utilization management, medical expert work, medical consulting, entrepreneurship, in more detail. You can learn more through the links in the show notes and on the Pinnacle Business Academy website, www.pinnaclebusinessacademy. And if this episode encouraged you, please share it with another physician or professional who may need this message right now. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, success means nothing if you lose yourself in the process. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Mindful Practice podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, you can find free burnout and career clarity resources at pinnaclebusinessacademy.org. And if this podcast supported you, please consider subscribing or sharing it with a colleague who might need it. Remember, you are more than your white coat. You are not broken, and you are allowed to evolve. Until next time, take care of yourself, not just your role.